want to teach you about the muscles of the arch and the muscles that are deeper in the foot than just the ones that move your ankle from side to side. I want to talk about the ones that lift the arches of your feet. Hello everyone, it's Jenna here from Jenna from Biokinetics at the Core Medical Center, and this morning I have decided to chat to you about foot stability and intrinsic strength. So the thing about the feet is that they connect you to the ground, and your ability to react and to find strength and to feel stable comes from that connectedness to the floor. And so sometimes we can take for granted the stability in the ankle or the strength of the foot. And so I'm going to talk you through a few exercises that can perhaps help you find that stability, that strength, that connection to the floor. So when you think of foot or ankle strengthening, you've probably, if you've ever been prescribed any exercises before, you probably will be familiar with the TheraBand. You might even be familiar with the balance pad or doing balancing exercises. And so I'm going to leave those for a little later, and instead I want to teach you about the muscles of the arch and the muscles that are deeper in the foot than just the ones that move your ankle from side to side. I want to talk about the ones that lift the arches of your feet. So if you could spare me a moment and look at your feet, or think about your feet in your shoes, I would like you to press all 5 toes into the floor. So what we're going to do is press all 5 toes into the floor and try and connect the arch of the feet, lifting them up but pressing all those toes into the floor. And then I'm going to ask you to lift just your big toe. So the big toes lift off the floor and then they come back down again. That might be impossible for some of you and quite easy for others. And that's okay, it's your journey. So we're going to ask you to do another movement now. Press all 5 toes into the floor again and lift just the 4 smaller toes, keeping the big toe into the floor. Now you can do this seated on the floor like I'm doing, which is actually quite hard, or in a chair, which is a little more comfortable. And it's even better if you do it in front of a mirror so that you can see if you're deviating or using other muscles. So we're going to try again. We will lift the big toes, trying not to roll out of the knees or the ankles, and then the small toes. Once you can do 10 of each type of exercise in a row, that means your intrinsics of the forefoot are good, and you can stop doing them and maybe every now and then test yourself. But it's not that easy, so be patient. I want 10 big toe lifts and 10 of the 4 small toe lifts, and then you can stop doing those intrinsics. Next, we want to think about this longitudinal arch of the foot. So could you please, if you're a size 6, make yourself a size 5, if you're a size 8, go for 7, and so on and so forth. So what we want to do is try and pull your toes towards your heels and pull the forefoot towards the hind foot, and then relax. And so it involves lifting this navicular bone and then relax, lifting the navicular bone and relax. Maybe you'll confuse it with rolling out the feet, which is not the case. I need these little bones to pull up. The big toes still have to press down. So we will show you a few examples with a different point of view so you can see it from a different angle. And then relax. Good. Next up, you're going to extend your legs out in front of you and press your big toes together. Spread all 5 toes so that the foot looks as if it's flat and against an imaginary pair of slops. Pressing the tips of the big toes together, you will lower the forefoot down towards the floor and lift it back up again. lower, pressing the big toes into one another, and lift back up again. Once again, we are working small muscles of the feet. We are working the tibialis posterior and the longitudinal arch. Keep all the toes spread as much as you can, and don't pull the toes towards your face. Press them into an imaginary slide. Good. We want to do 30 repetitions of this at least, 30 to 50 reps. And I don't see why you can't do this while watching TV at night, just pressing those toes together, or even when lying in bed at night. Then another lovely activation exercise will be to go to side lying and then lift just the foot off the floor, using the muscles along the inside of the calf to lift the foot off the floor and then lower it back down. And so lifting shortens the arch, and lowering it back down lengthens the muscles that shorten the arch. And maybe your foot will be a little bit like mine, it's post-op. So we lift the foot, and as I go down, it's a very bumpy ride. So we are trying to control that foot up and slowly lower it down. You can get creative with some ankle weights or even a shoe. That's a little bit heavier if you're wanting to look for more difficulty. But there will be other exercises in this foot series. Those are the intrinsic muscles of the foot. And I think if we start there, it's a good place. Then once you've got these intrinsic exercises going, we can start to challenge your foot, challenge your balance. But without understanding what muscles are needed to make which bones move into alignment, I don't think the balance exercises are as useful and as valuable. We want to know how to correct the alignment of your foot so that when we add the balancing exercises, we don't overdose you and you collapse into the arch. That doesn't mean you can't start doing balancing and weight-bearing exercises on your ankles. Of course you should, but just don't put all your weight on a weak ankle and then roll it and think that you're balancing when you're actually hanging on poor arches and strained and overstretched ligaments. So what are weight-bearing balancing exercises? Well, something as simple as a pelvic curl, lying on your back and lifting your hips up and down, puts weight through that ankle joint, and it gives us an amazing opportunity to start to correct the arch under a little bit of body weight. Even standing on two legs, just getting up off of the chair, or just standing on both of your ankles at the same time, is a great proprioceptive tool to strengthen up the arch of your foot while being able to still maintain the arch and not give in to your weaknesses. So we'll start with the pelvic curl. Lying on your back. You want to keep your feet parallel. We care that they're not deviating out to the side or that they aren't aligned. We want parallel feet. All 10 toes are pressing into the floor, and neutral pelvis, hands at your sides for a little bit of extra support and balance, and awareness of where your knees are in space. We don't want the heels too close to the bum. We need the feet at least 1.5 lengths of the foot away from the bottom. From here, you will squash your stomach into the floor and lift up your hips. Here you'll feel your hamstrings working, but I care what your feet are doing and what your knees are doing. Curl yourself back down and unravel your bum to start again. We imprint the spine and lift up the hips, pressing your toes into the floor. Lower yourself back down and unravel. By pressing the toes into the floor and thinking about that arch of your foot, you are strengthening up the intrinsics a little more. We spoke about standing on both feet. So when you do it, I need you to bring that arch awareness into the program. So standing on your feet, with your feet facing forward. You want to make sure you're not standing with your arches collapsed. or standing on the outside of your feet, which is rare. But we want those toes facing forward, and then kneecaps facing forward, the hip bones facing forward. And we want to make sure that your glutes are activated to help the kneecaps face forward, but that your arches are pushing up the bones of the feet to prop up the arches. So it's a two-way street. We have the arches being lifted and pressed up by this muscle on the side of the leg. And we have the arches of the feet being pulled up by the side of your butt muscle. So just standing facing forward, activating the arches of the feet. Excellent. Then transfer maybe 80% of your weight to one leg and only 20% on the other. And then you'll challenge that arch and slowly work your way into standing on one foot only without falling in. So we've gone over just a few exercises. We'll post a couple more. There are stacks of versions of the ankle strengthening programs available. And so it is my pleasure to take you through just a few today and some more in a little while, and to try and inspire and invigorate a passion for your balance and try and stabilize your ankles and therefore your body and movement. Thanks guys, stay tuned.